I'd like to introduce to Dr. Bill, who each month gives us a great medical report.
Okay, what they have come up with, and this is under the leadership of a woman named Ludmila Aristalde. They have found a common bacteria, which is in soil, so you don't normally hear it in disease setups, but it's called Comamonas testosterone or C. testosterone from the soil. And what's cool about it is it likes to eat plastic.
Ooh, good.
So instead of agonizing all over the world about how we're going down and we polluted this and that, use scientific ingenuity to solve the problem. So if this can do in 20 minutes what it takes 30 years to do underground, that's what I would call a step forward. Thank you, Ludmila. Okay, the second item is coming out of the University of Utah. By the way, are people able to hear me okay?
Yeah.
So far,
Can you
so
turn up the fan? Maybe you can turn your chair a little bit, Dr. Bill.
Okay.
Well,
And your
that was a
body.
little bit.
Actually, maybe if you speak from over here.
No, I'm not gonna move.
We do have alpha sound. I'm
So
sorry.
the University of Utah. And you know, we have the 8 Davids. Well, they have the 2 Benjamins. Benjamin Steinberg and Benjamin Sanchez. I don't think he is Liliana's husband, however. And these 2 are doing this work. They're concerned about the impact that smartwatches might have on implantable electronic devices like pacemakers. And so they started out with an on-the-table study just to see where they could get with this. Because the smartwatch uses something called bioimpedance to measure the biology and the tissues and the absorptions in their environment. And the concern is that this may impact the indwelling devices. So they put the devices on the table and they turn things on and off and so forth. And what they found was that in the presence of the smartwatch, some of these wonderful electrical devices start to do things that are unsavory and not good for your health. Like if you depend for your life on the pacemaker and suddenly it stops, that's not good. Or you have an indwelling defibrillator and you need to have a defib and it stops, that's not good. So they're not making any giant presentation out of this yet. They just started the project on the tabletop. And I'm sure we'll go on from there. Okay, that was last month's news. So those were the 2 topics of most importance from last month. Okay, so imagine a smartwatch on a table and a pacemaker on a table. That's what the slide was showing. Okay, another breakthrough from Northwestern. This is a 3 Northwestern month. It's very exciting. A breakthrough in treating the brain tumor called the glioblastoma, which is universally malignant and so far refractory to all treatments. So they developed something there called the SNA, which is the spherical nucleic acid. And this spherical nucleic acid miraculously goes right through the blood-brain barrier. And it delivers the drug potency to the tumor. And this was done by researchers named Kumtharar and Stain. So in Science and Translational Medicine, this was published in 3/21. And when I first looked at this, I didn't notice the date. It's not a current publication. And so the question is what has come up of this since then? And I'm going to contact one of these physicians and find out if their sense of how long this would take to come to market is still good. The new drug is called NU-029. And they did a very tiny study called a phase 0 study. They're just looking for evidence of toxicity. But when they did this, the patients then went on and had surgery, and they studied the cells in the removed tumor. They were necrotic. So you're getting like a free pass at something that's working better than anything that's ever been tried before.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that is really exciting.
Yeah, I had a friend who died of it. Western, so. Good to hear.
So, kudos to them. That's the second Northwestern triumph. Okay, the next one is the question of whether very impedant, and right up front, new Alzheimer's drugs might be covered under Medicare. So CMS, the Medicare Center, has said yes, if. And when a government agency says if, it's going to take you a long time to figure out what if means. So what if means is they will do this reimbursement providing that either the drug is approved by the FDA, or if it has accelerated approval, which is this little gimmick where you can do something with it while it's under study, then the physicians administering this must participate in a study. So they have to be in a registry, and physicians have enough stuff to do. They don't want stuff like this. So it isn't clear if they're going to make it on the if, and that's still under review. New drug coming up is from Biogen/SI, and it is called Leqembi. And there are others coming from other companies that are coming up after that. Super topic is called The Secrets of the Super Agers. The super agers are people who are up there in years, but they're not getting all these pre-dementia symptoms. They know why they went in the kitchen. They know where they put the bill that they have to pay. They remember your name without struggling. Why are they blessed in this fashion? So here we have a situation where they wanted to see if they could enlighten us on this. And what they found was, by doing a whole series of brain studies with electronic instruments, that it came down to, they found that they were microglia that are a cell that's inside the brain that sort of provides refreshment neurons, that those microglia are dying away in people with dementia. So they tried a bunch of things, and they found that something called luteolin emerged as the primary restorative factor for the microglia. And then the article shifts surprisingly away from that and talks about something called BDNF, brain-derived neurotropic factor. And this is another thing that has some kind of strong effort to refresh the brain, and it goes up measurably and demonstrably with exercise.
All right.
And then they go on to something else called neurofactor form. And then they go on to something else that's found in the coffee fruit. And then it begins to be clear what's going on is they're They've really got a product that they want to sell.
Oh,
And this is how they always introduce these things, long, tedious stuff about what is in the end sort of irrelevant. So they've got the problem in their hands and they have a setup called Advanced Memory Formula. And you can buy it online. It's only $39 a month. And there's a buy two for the price of blah, blah, blah thing is already out there. And it just kind of got smelly to me. So I Googled the guy's name. His name is Frank Schallenberger. And he's not one of the 5 guys making burgers. He's making. No. So I Googled him and he was getting 1 out of 5 ratings from his patients. And all sorts of people were complaining. And then it turned out he had lost his MD and so forth. So the headline for this topic is fraud. You've always got to be on the lookout. Topic 4. Those bats. They've got the secret. Let's study them. Now, all of the monster movies end up with a scene where the bats are roaring through the sky, coming down on you, and you can't defend yourself because they're so fast and cuddlesome. And but there's one thing that's pretty interesting. They were accused of being the possible vehicle for the spread of COVID-19. There's a question about whether it really came from animal to animal transmission in the marketplace, as opposed to the laboratory setting. Well, even if they weren't the source of that, they're carrying many viruses, which have been found to be involved with human diseases, and they're not sick. So that's not really fair.
oh,
How do the bats do it?
yeah,
Maybe we should figure this out.
yeah.
So one idea is that they're flying and they're pouring so much energy into their flight patterns that they have to tamp down their immune response to their own infections. I thought this was kind of a bullshit
Mm,
suggestion, but it's one they came up with. At any rate, their immune system is tamped down. And there is a study now, which has got reach out all over the world, called BAT1K. Wonder where that name comes from. And it's run by Emma Teeling, who is in Dublin, and a coalition of other major universities. So they're going to study this. They're going to sequence all the bats that they can come up with, and try and find out what it is that they have in common that may explain this, and then grab it for humanity. And that's what's exciting about science. It's not all the physics. Sometimes it's just a wider perception of what's going on in the live community. Okay, and now the bell's ringing. So the final topic is plaque buildup and no Alzheimer's. What's this? It's Neurotin, you know, you dummy. No, I didn't know that. So this is work by Emory University, Nicholas Seyfried, where he's trying to define asymptomatic Alzheimer's. In other words, you've got the deposits, you've got the plaques, but you are not getting signs of dementia. How did you do that? And they found that using post-mortem specimens, in other words, people have died, their brains have been taken by other agencies which have made preparations for this, for other studies. They were able to get some of these brains and study them, and use the cells that are still alive in them and the tissues to figure out what's going on. And what they found was something called NRN1, and the nickname for that is neurotin. And that emerges as the principal protective possibility. And this is probably a pretty vital insight, because if we can get that into people's brains, it's possible that many more people could go on without the symptoms of Alzheimer's, despite the endless deposit of tau and beta. That's it for the community news.